time, we'll go ahead and get started because we are 2 minutes after the hour, and we want to make sure that we honor your time, and we also want to make sure that you receive all of the wealth of information that our guest panelists will be sharing with you today. And so without further ado, I'm going over to our next slide, and we would like for you to please share in the chat your name, your title, as well as your organization, because again, we want to acknowledge those that have joined us today for this meaningful conversation. We're very excited to share with you as we are celebrating Black Philanthropy Month 2023. We have a variety of people joining us today. Shout outs to Ms. Rebecca Edwards, the co-founder and co-director of Braid Mission. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ms. Lalani Hagerman from PVAMF Foundation. Thank you so much. Chris, we're very excited to see you from St. Jude. Thank you all for joining us in this virtual space this afternoon. And today's session is brought to you by the Fundraising Academy. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Fundraising Academy, we assist with fundraising, and you all have fundraising to do. You've got a cause, and we're going to share it with you today, how to learn to fund your cause. And I'm excited to be your moderator today. It's not about me, but just a couple of things about me for those of you who have not had a chance to meet me in this virtual space. I currently serve as a trainer with the Fundraising Academy that provides complementary training for those of us in the philanthropic space to increase our reach, our sphere of influence, and also our training knowledge so that we can be very effective and efficient as it relates to our causes. And I'm also working at the South Texas College of Law, Houston, as the annual giving director, as associate director, as well as alumni engagement. So I'm very excited to join each and every one of you and to ask questions of our panelists to find out their best practices and what make their organization successful, and some of the tricks of the trade that really help amplify and sustain their organizational causes. Today, joining us, our panelists, I'm very excited to have some dynamic individuals who are very passionate and committed to elevating their causes. They're very passionate and committed to the service of humanity, because everyone knows that philanthropy means service to humanity. And each of these individuals as a collective have over 60 plus years of experience of philanthropic service in the community. And the impact is absolutely exponential in their reach, because each of them work in a different sector. So we'll learn a lot about how Black philanthropy is transforming lives across various areas of the philanthropic space. We have first with us, I'll give you a little bit of background information about Mr. Marcus Brewer, who will be joining us from Houston in the heart of 3rd Ward. He currently serves as the Director of Development as well as Special Projects for Civic Hearts organization, formerly known as Change Happens. Mr. Brewer has many years of experience, and he has literally done a dynamic job over the past several years. He has over 15 years of fundraising experience along with community service. His experience is primarily working with small shops, which is phenomenal. And many of you may work in small shops, so we'll learn a variety of different tips and skills on how to help maximize your time and be very effective and efficient in your roles. He's done everything: grant writing, foundation relations, corporate relations, strategic partnerships, and he's also had quite a bit of experience with the American Cancer Society, working both in local divisions, national divisions, and he's had major leadership roles within that particular organization. In addition to working in the philanthropic space, he's also an adamant volunteer. He works with various organizations, which include American Fundraising Professionals Association, Leadership Houston, Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, Boy Scouts, and the list goes on and on. He is very active, not only in the philanthropic space, but also in the volunteer space. We also have with us nationally recognized and internationally known Miss Eileen Morris. She is absolutely a ray of light to the city of Houston, as she currently serves as the artistic director at the Ensemble Theater, which is the oldest African-American theater in the state of Texas. Her experience is vast. Over 87 productions, including 8 world premieres and over 70 regional premieres. 2021, Ms. Morris was honored with the acknowledgement of being the director of the decade for Fences, which is a Broadway World Houston. In 2022, the USITT Thomas DeGant Award for her contributions for the arts community in Houston. Many of you from the greater Houston metropolitan area are familiar with the Lawsons, and some of her credits include The Lawson, A Civil Rights Love Story. In addition to that, I Too Am American, More Than Christmas, School for Girls. I mean, the list of her productions are ongoing, but one of the things that is definitely a standout for those of you who may be operating in the feminist space is she is the only woman in the world to direct 8 of August Wilson's 10-play circle. And that in itself is a testament to her greatness and her commitment to the artistic space. Last, we have joining with us from the perspective of higher education, we have Mr. Jeff Shaw, and Jeff currently serves as the Vice President of Institutional Advancement at the Harris Stowe State University, where he oversees alumni engagement, development, and advancement services. So also operating in the space of small shop, but huge impact. He has nearly 2 decades of experience in fundraising and advancement, working with Florida State University, the United Negro College Fund, formerly with Texas Southern University as an associate director of advancement services. And he is most notable for creating high-performing teams. That's what we want, high-performing teams that definitely have great impact. He has a bachelor's degree from Florida, and he also has completed the Rice University's Nonprofit Executive Leadership Certification Program. So we have a dynamic powerhouse today to talk about the philanthropic space, and I will first yield to Jeff. Jeff, please give us just a little bit of information about what your organization is and your philanthropic reach, so we'll know the point of reference for our conversation today.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. You do a great job with that, but I do want to clear something up really quickly though. It's Florida. I worked at Florida A&M University, not Florida State, but I did graduate from Florida State University.
There we go. And there is a difference for those of you who are joining us in this virtual space. Florida A&M is a powerhouse HBCU.
Yes, yes, and my wife went to Florida A&M, so she will tell you, yes, there is a big difference. But yeah, so I work currently now, I work at Harris Stowe State University. I'm the Vice President of Institutional Advancement here. And, like LaShonda said, my role here is primarily bringing the alumni, the faculty and staff, and the community together to basically create a holistic approach of bringing philanthropic interest back to the university. I will definitely say that it was a challenge when I got here, because with Harris Stowe being a smaller HBCU, it is the only HBCU in St. Louis. But with it being a small HBCU, it does have over 165-year history going back to 1857. But it had not, let's just say, we had not as a university put a large priority on our philanthropic or our advancement team. So when I came in, part of my job was to really reinvigorate the advancement department, reinvigorate philanthropy and giving, and kind of put some things together that hadn't been done, building our foundation board, building our engagement back with our alumni, getting some staff, because like she said, we are a small shop, so bringing on some staff, creating job descriptions, and doing those types of things. And while I'm trying to do all of that, trying to raise some money for us in between all of that. But I will say this, there is nothing I'm more passionate about is raising funds for an HBCU. I think at the end of the day, when you look back and you see the dollars that you've created to help students that look like yourself, and be able to help them get to and through college and see them go off and be successful. I mean, there's no better feeling in the world. So to create those resources for universities and schools that may or may not have had those same resources before, but to be able to create those opportunities for people to give back to the HBCUs, it is extremely rewarding for me. And that's where I found my passion. When I started working on the campus of Florida A&M University, that's where I developed my passion that said, you know what, this is the type of work that I want to do. This is the demographic that I really want to pour my energy into and help. And that's what I've been doing moving forward, and it has been extremely rewarding.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Now, Ms. Morris, you know, a lot of times when we're in our educational space and settings, we have many options to choose when we're talking about what your major is going to be. And the major that everyone always wants to dive into, but sometimes a little reluctant, is often theater. So tell us a little bit about the ensemble theater, its impact, and the work that you all are doing.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you, Ms. Williams, for having me on this webinar and this panel today. And I'm really honored to be with Mr. Jeff and Mr. Marcus. So we appreciate the opportunity to be able to share. I mean, theater is something that is a little bit, you know, people wonder, first of all, can you make a living? Are there opportunities out there? Is it really for me? And it is. I mean, if you feel that there's something inside of you that is waiting and busting to come out, then it's important for you to look at the opportunities that you can do within the theater. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. But the ensemble theater is the oldest Black, as you mentioned, Ms. Williams, the Black professional theater in the Southwest. And we're one of 7 Black theater companies in the world that own its own space. So we're very fortunate to have our own home here in the heart of Midtown, which is a cultural arts district designated by the state of Texas. So we're here in the heart of Midtown. We're 47 years old. So we're celebrating our 47th year coming up. And Mr. George Hawkins was the founder, and he founded the theater in 1976. And he founded it as a Prairie View A&M alum, but he was an accountant for Tentacor Oil Company. So his background is in philanthropy, is in actually service to humanity. And he wanted to take that service to another place by creating theater where we as African-American artists and African-Americans and the world could see people that look like them on stage. That was his main reason for founding the theater. I was very blessed to be able to come from Chicago, Illinois in 1982 and start working with Mr. Hawkins as a volunteer to the institution, but then I always say he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and he hired me as his managing director, and I started working with him in that vein. And then also when he passed in 1990, I took over as artistic director. So the ensemble theater provides opportunities for artists, not just actors that can be in front or on stage, but also behind the scenes. So there's a plethora of jobs that take place at the theater, from marketing, box office, house manager, technical aspect, theater, crew, sound design, costume design. So those kinds of jobs are things that if you have an interest in, like if you always wanted to design something, you could consider coming to a theater company and working with that. So within those categories of what we do in our artistic programming, which is main stage theater, we do 6 plays a year. We have a touring education program because we started out as that. So we tour plays throughout the city of Houston, and we do residencies and through our educational program. We have a training program for youth ages 6 to 17, and we reach about 65 plus audience members throughout the year with all those different programmings. So we really feel very blessed to be able to provide a platform for Houstonians and for people that come in, from all over the world to come and visit Houston, knowing that Houston is the 4th largest city in the U.S., that we have a Black institution that is there, that is female-led, and that also is there to provide opportunities and growth for the entire community.
We're very excited to dive in more, but before we do, because the Ensemble Theater, obviously with all the programming that you mentioned, does have goals, and they have been sustaining, as Ms. Moore said, for 47 years. So the nonprofit sector is thriving, and the philanthropic support has been there, and we'll dive into that. But before we do, up next, we have Marcus Brewer, whose organization, Civic Heart, impacts us holistically from various standpoints as we talk about the philanthropic space, as well as community engagement and offering services. So Marcus, give us a little bit more information about you and the organization and what you all are currently working on as far as priorities are concerned. You're on mute.
It would help if you could hear me.
We can hear you now.
Civic Heart, we are a Black-founded, Black-led community service organization that has been doing amazing work in the greater Houston area for over 30 years now. It's actually our 34th year. Our mission is to help people to empower themselves. And we do that with we've got 25, I would say 25-ish programs and more than 70 team members that have just like uncommon valor. Our programs provide services to over 60,000 people a year. We provide prevention education skills and training and alternative activities to over 7,000 school-age kids, 6 to 17. We have after-school and summer enrichment programs to over 150 kids, housing for 75 or 72 or 72 individuals who are experiencing homelessness or are being unhoused, assistance to help enroll over 2,000 families in health insurance, and we also do education training and connections for employment for over 200 low-income adults. The number of programs we have, like you said, we use a holistic approach when we work with our clients to meet them. We want to meet them where they are, because Audre Lorde said, there is no thing as a single issue struggle, because we do not live single issue lives. So we want to be there for them wherever they are. And we want to be the fearless heart of the community, where lives are valued and evaluated, inclusion is celebrated, and our community is inspired. And that is our vision. So that's one of the things we just created, that new vision statement for ourselves when we created our new name of Civic Heart.
And that is why we're here. Each of you in your own spaces have been able to make significant impact beyond yourself. And, when we think about Black Philanthropy Month, the first question I'd like to throw out to each of you is, did you imagine that you would be working in the nonprofit space when you initially started your career journey? And how has that trajectory impacted you as being a part of the agency of the nonprofit world? And we'll start with Jeff.
Okay, so that's a wonderful question. I actually started my professional career in the nonprofit space. When I came out of college, I got my degree in psychology. So my overall arching thing was I wanted to help people. I wanted to be able to talk to people and do things that would help. So I started at a nonprofit, which was a hotline. So I did short-term crisis counseling over the phone. But did I think I was going to be a fundraiser? Absolutely not. I did not think that was the trajectory that I was on. I was doing things in counseling like phone counseling, victim advocacy, domestic violence facilitation groups, things like that. Those are the types of things that I thought I wanted to do to be able to help people. And in many ways, I really did enjoy that work. Along the way, I had a hobby, and my hobby was playing around with computers. So I went back to school and became an IT specialist. So I just kind of shifted careers, and I decided I wanted to be an IT guy. I thought that was the kind of thing that I wanted to do. But at the same time, I felt like this was something that was helping people, because as I was an IT person, I was going, even in my spare time, I was just going from house to house, helping my friends and my mom and people, just any kind of troubles they were having, I was fixing them. And I just made me feel good. So I wanted to be in that space. But what ended up happening was my first real job as an IT professional was on the campus of Florida A&M University, supporting their TRIO programs. So that's when I hit the campus and really started to fall in love with that whole HBCU culture and seeing what the students were getting. And I did that for a little while and moved to being the IT support for their university advancement department. And being in that department helped me understand philanthropy and what constituents were, and how do you do moves management and all those things. Because I was supporting them through my technology, making sure that they could raise funds through what I was providing from a technology standpoint. But I became very fascinated with that whole piece, and I decided that I wanted to step my foot into the ring of maybe I could leverage technology to help raise money. So I became like their annual giving person, doing text to give campaigns and email campaigns and direct mail campaigns and phone-a-thons, because I felt like I could, if I understood the technology well enough, I can help them raise more money, which is what I did. I did help them raise a lot more money, invigorating their annual giving program. And then I realized that this space was something that I really loved. But at the same time, I said to myself, I don't want to be that front fundraiser. I don't want to be that guy that goes out in front of people and asks for money. But I was wrong again, because that is what I ended up doing. I was able to get a job at Texas Southern University originally as their associate director for fundraising, because they wanted to hire me as a fundraiser. They didn't care that I was an IT guy. They didn't want me to go around fixing computers and making sure that the printer printed. They just wanted me to raise money. And that's when I became a full-time fundraiser. And I actually did fall in love with the aspect of actually going out and talking to people face to face. And what I always say is, it's not that you're out begging for money. You're really just trying to couple people with their passion and their dreams and helping them see that stuff into fruition. So when I was able to do that, that made me have a much, much bigger respect for the whole concept of fundraising. And I just fell in love with that. And I was raising money for an HBCU and helping those students get to and through college. And that was just amazing for me. So I will say this, I said that then, and I still say it now. If I'm going to use my time, talents, and treasures, I'm going to use it to support an HBCU. And if I change jobs, you can guarantee it's going to be at an HBCU.
Thank you so much, Jeff. So with that in mind, in time, talent, and treasure, Marcus, can you give us a little bit more about how you evolved into this space?
That's, yeah, and that fall is like a perfect way to say it, because I have degrees in communication. So I did a couple of years radio station here in Houston, and then decided, okay, either I can get an apartment, could move out of my parents' house as I graduated from college, get an apartment, or get a car. But I couldn't do both on the salary I was making at the radio station, because I started as an intern and ended up being, it's a nice title, assistant promotion director, but it was just a nice title. That's about it. And ended up from there going into sales. So I was sales marketing, and that's I did that for a little bit, and then I went to work for United Way. United Way was my first paid fundraising job, and working with African American community, went from there to working for my parents, which was something that nobody should ever do. And then a friend of mine, there was a job at Sanderson College as a director for community education. And I went over there, and the job was all of the CE programs, was being the director over the CE for the South Campus. And I took the job, had a lot of fun doing it, but it was revenue generating. So I had to get out there, not only create great programs, but find funding for those programs as well. And it's it went from there. And to be able to work for a charter school, being that, and I tell people I've had great titles. At the charter school, my final title, because we changed titles 3 different times. My final title was Chief Community Relations and Fund Development Officer for the district, but I was chief of me. So, like I said, great title. I fell into it because, and I shouldn't say fall into it, because even though we didn't have a name for it, I've always been a fundraiser. Whether it's at home, whether it's at church, whether it's our family, because I think about my mom and my dad were the house that cousins came to when they wanted to come from Louisiana or move from Alabama. They were at our house in one of the rooms, or my room. Sometimes we had to go be in my brother's room while they took over my room. But that's philanthropy. But that's just what we did as as Black folks. You know, you just took care of people, you took care of your family, you took care of your street, you took care of your church members. And it's just something that's, you know, it's ingrained. So to be able to do this and get paid for it is a privilege. You know, it's something that I enjoy doing. I love working for the organizations that I've worked for, not all the bosses, but all the organizations. Because I have to believe in that mission. I had a meeting with our luncheon chair coming up, and we had him come in, and I had to meet with all the different coordinators, and they got to tell about all the different programs. And one of the things he said is like, you know, I can feel the belief in this room. You know, I'm talking to the 8 coordinators that were there, and everybody, he could tell just by what they said and how they said it, that we believe in what we do. And I've said it before, I could never work for an organization and not believe in that. I can't go and ask somebody for money or ask somebody to partner with us or ask them to volunteer if I don't believe in what they're doing. So, like I said, I being a fundraiser, as Jeff said, it's not necessarily putting our hand out. I always have to make people that understand that. You know, being a fundraiser is creating relationships. It's allowing people that we meet to fulfill their own personal or family missions, you know, what they want to do, and what they want to do with their dash, you know, how are they going to make their dash meaningful? You know, it's you know, we got a pretty cool job, I think.
We serve in a space that is an honor and a privilege, and it allows us to allow our missions, passions, and purpose in life to resonate. And with that in mind, Ms. Morris, you are in the space that everyone loves, and theater brings people together. So tell us about how you transitioned from being a volunteer into the fabulous artistic director that's recognized, and some of the things that you're doing to keep everyone educated about how to support the ensemble theater.
First of all, it's wonderful hearing your stories, Jeff and Marcus, because those stories resonate very well with me. Because you're right, it's who we are as a people, and you know, community and sacrifice and dedication and love is a part of innate in all of us. And I think that I was raised in a little country town 60 miles south of Chicago, Kankakee, Illinois, Pembroke Township, and my mother was a director of a nonprofit community action program. So part of our job, so we started volunteering and working in the community at a young age. She had all of her children, since we all went to Catholic schools. She would make sure that we were in the libraries tutoring people in math and English and anything else that needed to take place so that the community could be strengthened, but they were strengthened by what we were providing for them. So volunteerism is a part of what I was raised on, and how my parents made sure that we gave back to the community. And then, so that was one of the reasons I came to volunteer with the ensemble theater. My degree is in theater arts, but I wanted to be able to touch bases with what was going on in the arts. And that's when I met Mr. Hawkins when I moved from Illinois here. And then if you fast forward, I thought, oh my gosh, I just want to be an actress. That's all I want to do. I just want to act. But it's more than just that. Of course, I act every day, all the time with other people. And I'm not acting because you're coming from the heart, but there's a certain level of kind of what you're doing in your day-to-day existence that requires certain acting skills. But I found that acting was really just one little, like this little minute part of what it is that our day-to-day existence is, that really being of service to the community, you're encompassing so many different variables. So even though I just wanted to act, I found myself creating budgets. I found myself writing grants. I found myself having dialogue. Mr. Jeff, you said you didn't want to really be the face and be out front talking to the people and saying, hey, can you support the other? But that's what we do every day. So that the acting part just kept getting further and further away, but yet all of these other skills and opportunities took place and really strengthened who I was as a woman, as a executive, as a leader, as a person that really was grateful to be able to be in a space where I love what I do each and every day. So people go, you work long hours, because I do. I mean, I'm in rehearsal at night. So when you all are at home sleep at 10, 11 o'clock, I'm still here working because I'm directing a show. But I realize that it doesn't feel like work, and it is work though, but I get an opportunity to really have a lot of fun and express myself and be in a place that I know that makes my heart happy, that I feel good about coming to work every day. And then the other thing is that being able to, the Ensemble Theater has been blessed to be able to have a great foundation. And that's why I believe Mr. Hawkins founded the theater, is because he knew that we needed and deserved to have a space where people could see plays that were coming from the African-American lens. And that it was important that people see artists as a whole, not just art and actors, but understanding what it took behind the scenes and how you can support an institution like the Ensemble Theater. So we're blessed to have an endowment. We're blessed to be able to have, supporters that have been consistent supporters over the years with the theater. We create relationships with our community. We have subscribers that every year they say that they're going to subscribe to the theater. Of course, we need more to subscribe to the theater because they love the work that we do. They understand the mission. They see the vision. They want to be of support. They want to know that their voices can be heard and that they can have an experience that they can share with their family and friends as well. And I think that for us, we believe that the Ensemble Theater is creating kind of that landscape across the city of Houston and the world, so that people feel like they are investing in an institution that will be here for years to come and for other generations as well.
And you're right. People invest in the Ensemble Theater because of their love and commitment for that opportunity to have a unique experience, to see theater productions that reflect individuals that look like ourselves. And having subscribers is a major part of that. So when we're thinking about the philanthropic space and how we garner philanthropic support, there obviously has to be linkage. And so hence you have the community. The interest is obviously there from the standpoint of having those individuals that want to support the theater. And then you have the capacity. There are a variety of different levels. If you could talk to us a little bit more about your memberships and how they work and how they play a major role in supporting the organization, and how you also have volunteers and how they work in that space.
Right, thank you. So there's several different layers of that. So first of all, we have members, meaning subscribers, people that say, okay, I'm going to buy a ticket for all of the 6 plays that you're going to do. So they have different levels of that opportunity that you can go on, and whatever fits and works best with your comfortability as far as your financial situation, then you can buy a membership to the Ensemble Theater. That's a subscription that will enable you to see all of the 6 plays that we do throughout the year. If you buy a platinum subscription like before gala time, and our gala is coming up next Saturday night, August the 26th at the Hilton Americas, then you can get an opportunity not only to get opening night tickets for all the plays, but also 2 gala tickets. So that package is broken down for whatever best fits the needs of yourself and your family. As well as we have what we call our Founders Circle, named after our founder, George Hawkins, where people can make a donation and they know that they're supporting consistently the Ensemble Theater, and they're bringing along some friends, and they're saying, okay, me and about 5 of my friends or fraternities or sorority members or link members or Jack and Jill chapters or church members, we're going to come together and we're going to support the theater as a whole each and every year. And this is the level that we want to do that. And then throughout the year, you'll get different opportunities to come see shows or have special events coordinated just for you, or dinners or that type of thing is what we do throughout the year. And then it's our gala, which is our biggest fundraiser of the year. I just mentioned that. And that also is an opportunity for the entire city to join in, have a lot of fun. This year, we're honoring Anika Noni Rose, who is the voice from Tiana from The Princess and the Frog, and Jason Durden, who played Pastor Skanks from The Greenleaf. And of course, our mayor, Mr. Mayor Sylvester Turner, is going to be honored at our gala this year. So we have people that we say thank you to them because they mean so much to the city. They mean so much to the Ensemble Theater because of their support and love. So that fundraiser. And then our YPP program, which is our Youth Young Performers Training Program. And it's a training program in which we bring in youth 6 to 17. We work with them all year long, but our main focus is 2 4-week sessions in the summer in which we get them to come in and be trained in theater, dance, music, technical theater, and cultural studies. And so that's a 4-week program where we have them Monday through Friday from 8 to 3, and we at 4 o'clock, and we actually are working with them to give them the skills like Solange Knowles is one of our young performers. Chandra Wilson from Grey's Anatomy went through our program, and others that, you know, we could continually name. So our programming kind of was a wide range of varied things that we do that have created opportunities for service to the community, and provides a variety of ways that you can find what works best for you and how you can continue to support, because we need the community support. We don't, you know, to do a play and then not have an audience. Well, that we're just doing it for ourselves. So we're doing it because we're hoping and we want to be making an impact to the audience, letting them know that we're here. These stories resonate with you. There's something that fits within you and your family, and we need the continued support.
And support is what makes everything happen for each of the various organizations. Marcus, can you take a moment to just kind of share with us, with Civic Hearts offering a variety of different services, when you're thinking about prospects and individuals that you are courting to support your organization, what are some mechanisms that your organization has in place, or how do you find supporters for your organization? What's proven to be effective?
All the above. You know,
Are there any? Yeah.
You know, it's you know, working with you. I've been there almost 2 years now. And the first year I was, you know, kind of going between different positions. And now this last about 8 months, I've really just kind of focused on development and can really start putting it together. So I'm really going after our lapsed donors, you know, trying to go after them, because we're 34 years old. And so we've got a lot of really great supporters that were around and had been around for a long time, and just reaching out to them. I'm also calling on those folks who have been continued supporters and asking them, hey, who can I call? Who do you know? Who's your friend? Would you host a salon event, you know, just for folks at your home? That sort of thing. We have something in a breakfast. And it used to be, before I got there, it was another fundraiser, but I changed it to a friend raiser, because the idea is I want to invite people who don't know about us to have 25 table captains to invite 9 friends who don't know anything about us. And then they get to learn. So it's at the junior league every April. So this last year I had 330 people crammed in there to learn about us, because there's no money, there's no donation cards on the tables. It is truly a fundraiser breakfast so that they can educate us. And now I've got 300 extra people who I could call on and follow up with, and to work from there to build those new relationships. And then of course our lunch in November, just, you know, like it's November 3rd at the junior league. The plug in. And so it's just that it's being out, it's being part of the different chambers of commerce and meeting people. It's going to conferences. It's just networking ideas, the Rotary, you know, presenting at the Rotary clubs, you know, the different Rotaries that are around the Houston area, because those are different buckets of people based on the community that Rotary sits in. That again, building that awareness and potential supporters, volunteers. And I always wanted to try to. One of the things that I kind of really got into when I was at the charter school was bringing people in, letting them see who we are, what we do, and asking them to volunteer first, and then trying to recruit them and to get them from there. Because I learned at an AFP conference probably 7 years ago, maybe 8. You may have heard this quote before: if you ask somebody for money, they give you advice. If you ask for advice, they give you money. And so after that, I've tried to live by that. So I'll call people and ask them, hey, I got a question. Can you help me with this? I've got I want your advice on this idea that I have. And it's kind of built from that. I had one idea that came from that was an ambassadors. I had my star ambassadors that was created at an organization based on one of those phone calls that helped to raise close to $1 million extra bucks in kind and financial. based on their connections. So, I mean, it's all the above on how
And you're
we do it.
right. Yeah, when we're talking, exactly. When we're talking about prospecting, it's a major part of vitality for organizations. So being able to identify your prospect pool earlier on helps with the efficiency of your organization. And you mentioned 3 key strategies, and that is, keeping in mind lapsed donors, which is very important. Keep re-engaging them. And that is a mechanism that helps with long-term retention. But more importantly, what you spoke to was volunteerism, transitioning volunteers into the organization to become donors is one of the most natural transitions that there are when it comes to garnering philanthropic support. And, what has proven to be effective and the most effective measure, especially when you're trying to garner larger dollar amounts, is the peer-to-peer requests. Having your current donors identify individuals within their particular circle that also have similar interests. And I think you said it best when you mentioned your fundraiser event where you had that huge awareness session, which is another opportunity to generate awareness, but it also helps enhance your prospect pool. Jeff and I both have worked in the higher ed space. And so one of the things that I've done in my prior years with Prairie View was start an ambassador program. I did I Love My HBCU month, where I had individual alumni one day each month of March, which was the month that we celebrated HBCUs, to reach out to their peers to do the peer-to-peer fundraising to elevate the annual fund giving. And so in the philanthropic space, my quote was transitioning alumni affinity into philanthropy. And so, Jeff, with that in mind, you inherit a prospect pool of alumni who already love the institution, or they may have had some challenging experiences which have led to them being hesitant to give. So if you could talk to us about how you engage your alumni constituency as prospects and help transition that interest and love into philanthropic support.
Well, thank you. And I'm like Marcus in the sense that it's like you have to do all of the above. You have to do everything. My philosophy has always been talk to everybody. So when I got here at Harris Stowe, I'm coming into a city where I literally know no one. I don't know anybody. So the quickest, fastest, easiest way to get engaged is I started off with, like you said, looking at that donor role, looking at that alumni role. I actually had a part-time person in my office at the time who had been with the university for years. And I actually asked her to start setting up alumni meetings for me, for people to meet the vice president. So like every couple of weeks, I would, meet at a Cracker Barrel or someplace and just have alumni groups come in and just hear what I had to say and hear what my vision was for the university and some of the things that I want to do philanthropically. I started putting together a plan of what kind of alumni engagement events can we start doing throughout the year so that we're not always waiting until homecoming to ask the alumni to do things. Just this past November, we actually rented out a movie theater for a private viewing of Black Panther 2. And we just asked the alumni, Jay, just sign up, it's free, just come out and enjoy a free show of the Black Panther. And while they were there, we were able to get to say a few words to them, talk to them about the university before the show started, and just let them have a good time. It's creating those types of environments and those kind of engagement activities that makes the alumni a little bit more engaged with the university. So you're not always just hitting them up for money. But I also had I had a larger challenge, well, not a larger, but I had an additional challenge in front of me because when I got to the university, like I said, I didn't know anybody. So we also had corporate engagement and foundation engagement that we needed. So one of the things that I also did is, like I said, I went through my donor roll, started looking at some of our past donors. I also got a copy of the St. Louis Business Journal. And I made sure that all of the top CEOs and things like that I was able to try to reach out to them, to invite them out for lunch or coffee or what have you. And what I did is I put together a VIP president's event that we started in November. So it was like a chance for the community or the different heads of corporations and top donors and foundations, come meet our president, because believe it or not, even with our 166-year history, there were a lot of people, because we were small, were very unfamiliar with Harris Stowe State University. So I wanted people to just come out and hear from our president, hear what her vision was. That first year we did it, we were still kind of worried about COVID. And I actually had a previous donor who stepped up, like Marcus said, and said, hey, I'd love to open up my home to an event like that. And we ended up with a little over 40 or so people, top CEOs that came out to just hear the president's vision. And that turned into people that ended up partnering with the university, creating scholarships at the university, people who just wanted to hear what was going on, people who ended up being some of our board members. And now we've made it an annual event. We call it kind of like our state of the university address from the president. So this will be our 3rd year doing it. But last year we did the same event. We brought them out. We had over 50 people this time. And then those people, we told them about our president's inauguration. So that ended up turning into a lot of those people turned out to be our sponsors for the inauguration. So what started as like coming into a university where I didn't know anybody. And that's the other thing is people don't realize is if you're a fundraiser and you understand the fundamentals of fundraising, you don't have to be the person that knows everybody to be able to raise money. You just need to know how to understand how to execute fundraising strategies so that the people that you meet can help you meet other people, which can help you meet other people. And you build that resource around you so that now you have a group of people around you that are helping you move that mission along. And those are your alumni, those are your board members, those are your strong faculty and staff. Those are those people that that really have the mission of the university in mind and can connect you to the right person. There are a lot of people out there that know a ton of people and are very well connected, but they're like, I don't want to raise money. I don't want to ask anybody for money. But hey, Jeff, I'll give you their name and I'll give you their contact. And me, I love to follow up with people. So that was my strategy was, like I said, talk to everybody, engage all the groups. Now, I will say this. There's a piece of software that I use that helps me out a little bit too. It's called iWave. And iWave is kind of a prospect research tool that's a little bit cheaper than some of the other ones that are out there. But when I tell you how invaluable it was, when I started looking at the top CEOs that are in St. Louis and I couldn't find an email address or their phone numbers or what have you, I could go into iWave and say, okay, who's the president of Centene again? And what's his email? And a lot of times I was able to pull that up, and next thing you know, hey, I'm in a meeting or having coffee with them the next week because I was able to contact them. So just being able to use the resources that are there and do the fundamentals of fundraising a lot of time can help you, even if you're walking into a situation where you have 0 prospects. You follow the fundamentals and you can build that pipeline that you need.
Yeah,
And you're absolutely right.
It made me think about when you said talk to everybody, you know, dating myself, you know, that shampoo commercial, they told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on and so on. That's how that's what we want. That's, you know, we want to go viral, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
We do want to go viral, and you know, the philanthropic space is definitely not for the faint at heart. It is those that did truly demonstrate that passion, and that passion resonates in those conversations, because being able to have the opportunity to host the meeting is one thing. But what's most effective is how that meeting is handled, the information you're able to convey, and whether or not you're able to effectively communicate your cause. And so with that in mind, you know, in the virtual space and in the physical space, Ms. Morris, you mentioned so eloquently that, you know, throughout our lives, we're acting all the time. And so with that in mind, with acting all the time and literally the entire world is your prospect pool, what are some things that you all have done or that you've seen done in the theater space to engage prospective donors and also to help with retaining those memberships year over year so people have their annual membership programs and annual donors to sustain your organization?
You know, I didn't mention also that the Ensemble Theater has a strong volunteer pool. It's called the Ensemble Theater Guild, headed up by Dr. Teddy McDavid, who's a educator. And many of those people are educators. There are over 125 members. And what they do is they actually come together every month, and they raise dollars by getting our preview performances and selling the tickets at a higher price to bring people in. And they use those dollars to support our intergenerational matinees, in which people, seniors and students, can come together and see productions at the Ensemble Theater on a Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. But it's being subsidized by the buses and their tickets by the support that our volunteers do. So another thing that we do also is that I'm always talking to people. So I'm every play that I go to in the city, because I go to see a lot of plays, not only looking for talent, but also just looking for designers and that kind of thing. But I'm taking that playbill, And I'm going in the back of that playbill and I'm looking at the list of donors that have supported that institution. And then I'm coming back to home, to the ensemble, and I'm saying, okay, guys, we don't have any support from these people. How can we get some information out to them, either through a letter, an email, a personal phone call? I'm calling somebody that I know and asking them, can you help us get in touch with that person so that we can find out more information and let them know how they can support the theater. Obviously, they love the arts. That's why they're supporting this. And so we're asking them to support a Black institution. Jeff, thank you for giving the information about iWave, is it? WAVE? So that, those kinds of things, because we need to upgrade our IT system over here at the Ensemble Theater, which is one of the things that we need support for, so that we can have opportunities to retain people that come through our doors. Our Young Performers Program, which is the program for youth, a lot of times those parents, they support their kid coming to the program. What we do then is we invite them, or we'll give them free tickets to come and see a production. And then when they see that production, we'll say, okay, we're going to give you a free ticket this time. Next time you bring somebody with you, and then support the theater. So there are ways, those are the kinds of things that we're able to do, but we're always doing something for our subscribers and our funders. We have what we call Heart of the Theater, which is in February, because February is, Valentine's Day month, is Black History Month. And we do a thank you to our subscribers and to our corporate and corporate supporters. And we do performances. We have jazz concerts. Last year, we did a whole tribute to Nat King Cole and his music. And we had a 25-piece jazz band, and they played, and it was free to all of our subscribers and to supporters. And that's a way of giving back and saying, we really support and thank you for what you do for us, but here's our way of saying thank you for the continued support. So we find little niches and ways like that throughout the year, because we do at least 4 or 5 of those types of activities. And then we also, we have a really great personal conversation with our funders, our corporations, because they, as I said, we're blessed to be able to have long-term support from many persons, but still not enough, and still people that we find that don't know anything about the Ensemble Theater. And so it's about educating people, making them aware, and telling someone our motto is the E is for everyone, and everyone counts. So if that's the case, then everyone needs to make sure that everyone knows, others know, every people within their circle know about the work that we do, and then come and support that, and be supportive in many ways, all the different ways that you can be supportive.
And you're absolutely right. Everyone counts. And in the philanthropic space, we have to make sure that we are treating all gifts equally. So no matter how no matter how small the gift may be or how large it may be, one of the best things to always do as you're engaging your donors is to ensure that you treat all gifts as though that is a major gift prospect, because there are many instances that you'll have someone that may hypothetically get a subscription to Triple Play, which it may be at the lower level, but they may have the capacity to become a platinum member. And so by making sure that all of your members and or donors are treated as though that their gifts matters, it really helps with creating opportunities for sustainability, but most importantly, being able to share that impact of your organization and how those dollars have transitioned into impact. Your gift of X dollars has been able to help us raise X dollars. And as a result of that, we've been able to provide X number of scholarships. We've been able to service 65,000 people is what Marcus mentioned earlier that his organization serves on an annual basis. So with that in mind, Marcus, what are some strategies that you've used in terms of looking at donor retention as well as stewardship to help be able to continue to sustain the organization at the level that you're currently impacting the greater Houston metropolitan area and beyond?
Putting those plans in place as we speak, because that's something that hasn't been done previously with the organization. So I'm kind of building it out and cleaning up databases and constant and boom, just cleaning up everything, which is a task to do that, so that I can do that in a bigger way, because I've got those folks, the companies, the corporations that I maintain and have built great relationships with them and brought some new companies on board and new foundations on board in my time here. But there are some some of the previous funders who I haven't been able to get to. So just putting that plan together, putting my calendar in place, so I know when I'm going to make those touches, when I'm going to make that contact for them is what I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that, along with all the other stuff. But it's in the works.
It's in the works, and I've worked in small shop, and when I was working at Prairie View, we were a very small shop, and we had to build some systems and mechanisms. And so I completely understand where you're coming from that standpoint. But a couple of best practices, just in general, for our general audience, and things that they may want to consider that we've done before. You mentioned so eloquently, and that is data analysis, looking at your data, looking at those individuals that are giving with consistency, and also identifying unique engagement opportunities. Ms. Morris spoke to that so well when she talked about inviting them to special showings that are exclusive. That's a way to not only demonstrate stewardship and gratitude, but it's also a way to incorporate them and create a stronger relationship within the organization. Other things that individuals may do, and I have to go back to the ensemble theater because I love that building. It's beautiful. Is the recognitions, having recognition walls, having donor rolls, having those annual reports out there that recognize donors at the various gift levels. Salon events always go very well. Jeff spoke to having salon events where you have a unique individual who is opening up his or her home, or you identify a space where you're creating an exclusive experience for your donors to demonstrate appreciation. There have also been instances where we've hosted donor receptions. And, Jeff mentioned earlier about the increase in endowments, and having those endowment dinners where the endowment holder has the opportunity to reach or to meet the actual recipient is another way to engage donors and help with donor retention. And so when we're thinking about donor retention, and Jeff, I had the pleasure of seeing your presentation at AFP. It was AFP Icon, or either at the HBCU Philanthropy Symposium, where you talked about putting stewardship on autopilot. So if you could share with us some of those best practices as it relates to donor stewardships, because capturing the donor's interest is one thing, but being able to sustain them is what helps with your organization long term.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I told you before I started in fundraising, I had an IT background. So a lot of my background comes from being that advancement services person, that back end person that had to analyze data and update the database and do certain things. So I've had a long history with Black Bar Razor's Edge. So if anybody's a Razor's Edge user, if you got a question, I could probably answer it. I've been using it for 20 years now. So I know a lot about it, but I've typically worked in small shops. And when I say small shops, when I first got here, it was just me and my assistant, it was two of us trying to do everything. And I'm in St. Louis. We got a university down the street called WashU, or Washington University. They have a development department of over 350 development officers, and I'm here with me and my assistant, what I'm saying? So it is truly a small shop in comparison. So for me, I know that sometimes for us, the Achilles heel sometimes is how do we steward our donors? How do we do donor recognition? How do we reach out to them and keep that personal touch? And I leverage technology to help me do a lot of this. So some of the things that I talked about at the HBCU Symposium was workflows. I know Razor's Edge has workflows built into it. Some of the other things like Salesforce or Millennium and other products, they may have those things as well, but from what I understand is blackballed. So they have workflows built into it. So I utilize the workflows to send out every day. There's a workflow that looks for people's birthday. If today is your birthday, it's going to send you an electronic birthday card. And it's a personalized message that says, hey, Jeff, I just want to take time to say happy birthday to you. I recognize it was your birthday today, and it's signed by me at the bottom. So it actually looks like I sent them a personal email. It's not an email blast. It's an email that goes out to each individual person because it's recognizing you on your birthday. There's another workflow that we have that runs in the background that looks for new donors. So every time it finds a new donor, there's an email welcome them as a new donor. It follows it up a few days with an engagement email that says, hey, follow us on Facebook or social media. Follows it up a few days later saying, hey, we'd love to hear more about you. Fill out this little survey about why you decided to make your gift today. And it has a couple of other follow-ups and at the end, what it does is it calculates exactly 365 days from your first gift and says, hey, today is your gift's birthday. We want to celebrate the anniversary of your gift. How would you feel about making another gift to Harris Stowe today? So it's doing that for us in the background automatically. I go to a lot of conferences and webinars where they talk about how you should follow up with people and do these types of things. But if you have to manually do it in a small shop, it falls through the cracks every time. But if you can work with your system to create some of those things automatically, it definitely helps. You know, I talked a little bit about, we have this service called Handwritten. It does electronic cards. But what it actually does is it actually writes. So I know people think, okay, yeah, it writes a card because it prints a nice little card out and it looks like it's handwriting. What it actually does is it puts an actual real pen in a robot's hand and it actually writes the letter for them. So it actually looks like a real handwritten card, but it's a service. You do it online, you type up what you want to say, you put in the person's address, and they receive in the mail an actual postcard from you that either says congratulations or thank you or happy birthday, that looks like somebody wrote it, and it puts a real stamp on the front. So it stands out from every other thing they get in the mail. So
And what's the name again, Jeff?
it's called Handwritten. And the written part is spelled with a Y.
You need to record this and send this to every platform you have plugged today.
Yes. And yeah. And then the last thing I talked about was this thing called ThankView. A lot of you may have heard of this. This is a way of thanking people through videos. So it allows for you to create videos, and it also is integrated with Raiser's Edge. So Raiser's Edge will send me an alert saying, hey, this person made a gift. I'm allowed to record a video that's personalized, and I can talk about the donor from a personal aspect, because if I know them personally, I can say some personal things, and it packages up really nicely in a nice little email where they click on it and it does like a little animated thing of opening a card, and it has my video in there. And then I created another video of the board members thanking them as well. So they get these personalized videos that the system just automatically alerts me, hey, Jeff, you need to do another video. I also bring in some of our students to come in and record videos for scholarships they receive, so I can send those out to donors. But it's a really nice tool to personalize a way of saying thank you. And because we get these alerts through the system of when to do them and how to do them, and I can create little scripts so the students can read them, it helps us stay on top of that part, so that because we have a small shop, we're able to get these things out and get them pushed out, so that the donors don't feel like, oh, well, that's Harris Stowe. They only got a couple of people. They don't get their letters out. They're not thanking people. They're not doing this. We're actually doing, we've sent out people who have degrees from St. Louis University or WashU, and they're saying, you guys are sending me stuff that I'm not even getting from my other schools. You know, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. So I leverage the technology to help us because we are a small shop.
And, you know, with small shops, sometimes there's a challenge with budget constraints. So what I would definitely encourage those of you that are working in the small shops is to look at some free services and services that have tier pricing based on the number of constituents that you're managing to help facilitate and make it manageable. I can recall many moons ago when I first kind of got started in this space, I used to use Constant Contact, you know, to be able to, you know, communicate with people and to be able to kind of do some of the sorting, the filtering, and providing that ongoing communication. One of the things that you did definitely share, Jeff, that everyone should have in their repertoire, their toolkit for stewardship, is recognizing that gift anniversary. Gift anniversaries, membership anniversaries are absolutely one way to not only remind the individual of their commitment to your organization, but also remind them that perhaps if they have not renewed, that this is a great time to renew. One of the things that also has proven to be very effective, if your organization has it in place, or if you don't have it in place, to consider it. And that is instances where individuals perhaps may be at the point in life where they may not necessarily want birthday presents. So they ask their friends and family to make a gift to an organization in honor of their birthday. That is a phenomenal opportunity. I can remember working at Prairie View. We had Mr. Higgs, may he rest in peace. We were having a huge campaign helping the band prepare to go to the Cotton Bowl, and it was approaching his 92nd birthday on February 18th, the same day as my mom's birthday. And he said, LaShonda, I want to have an event to help these young people get to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade. So in lieu of gifts, I'm telling everybody to come out and celebrate my birthday and bring their checkbooks. And so for shops that are smaller, when you have individuals that may be longtime supporters, those are your primary individuals that will help with the peer-to-peer fundraising. They are also your referrals, and they are your committed volunteers that are there for your organization for the longevity. One of the things you also mentioned, Jeff, that's very important, and that is having touch points. So as we're becoming more effective and efficient, one strategy that every shop should have in place is making sure that they have at least 7 touch points for their donors. And those touch points are beyond the gift. You know, they are their thank yous. They are invitations to exclusive events. They are updates on the types of work that your organization is doing. They are a reminder that your organization has received an award, or someone within your organization has been recognized in the community. And because of their support, you know, you're a part of this recognition. So whether you're in the theatrical space, community services, human services, you are able to share with those donors that your dollars do matter, and all of our accomplishments as an organization are largely attributed to your philanthropic support.
And
so as we're talking about this, there are a variety of different mechanisms to convey messages. So Marcus, if you can lead us with ways that you channel your messaging to make sure that your donors are aware of the organization and that prospects are aware of the organization. What are some ways that you talk to your donors? Social media, direct mail, what works well with your organization?
Just kind of thinking back exactly what you were saying. I definitely want to send out all the impact statements and tweets and numbers to them, but sometimes I send them something that has absolutely nothing to do with us. It has maybe something about their industry or something that I know their hobby. I'll send them something. I had a donor. She lives in Dallas, and I know she loved butterflies. So if I would see something about butterflies, this kind of article, I'd send it over to her. Hey, the butterflies, or something about the monarchs, or some exhibit somewhere that she'd fly off to go see butterflies sometimes. But I just send her stuff like that. I had somebody just recently in Houston made the Houston Business Journal book of list. So just sent over congratulations to her, this bouquet of flowers, and I sent her team some cookies, just to thank her from the Civic Heart family. It's just ways of texting. Yesterday, it was Thankful Tuesday. And so I just sent text messages say, it's Thankful Tuesday and I'm thankful for you. I sent that out to some of the donors. That's it. Didn't ask for anything, just, put messages to kind of let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you, we appreciate you. My thing is, I always tell folks, I never want my number or email to come across somebody's screen and they're like, oh my God, what does he want now?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You do not need
Deshauna,
the dreaded email. Yes, Jeff, please chime in.
I just wanted to jump in and say also, to Marcus's point, I use Google Alerts. If you have a board or advisory board or leadership committee or just a group of people that are in your portfolio, put their names in Google Alerts so that if they hit the news for any reason, it'll come across your email and you can be one of the first people to say, hey, congratulations, I saw you got this promotion, or hey, I saw that you moved to a new company, or hey, you can be that first person or one of the first people to congratulate them, because everybody that's in your circle that you should be close to or building a relationship with, you're getting an alert to see what's happening with them if they hit the news. So I use those Google Alerts to kind of help me stay on top of those things.
Yeah, Google Alerts are paramount. And speaking of Google Alerts and, making sure people are aware, Ms. Morris, you mentioned earlier, we're approaching gala time. So how is the ensemble getting the message out and letting individuals know about opportunities to support the cause and some of the wonderful works you're doing throughout the year?
Well, we definitely have a social media platform that we use consistently. As a matter of fact, this week starting, every day we'll be putting up one of our honorees and letting people know who they are and telling them how people can get individual tickets or their company can get a ticket on a table for the gala. So we do varied things like that. And for every show, we normally have a video that the actors that we put together, and we put that on social media, and they put it on all their social media platforms, letting people know that this is out here, that these actors are in it. And if you enjoy what you've seen over the years, come step forth. I'm really in awe and thankful for hearing a lot of the things that's being shared today. We do that. We're still doing things, not necessarily through technology, but thank you notes, handwritten thank you notes is hugely important in our world. Sending out some cookies and, making a phone call or sending a text is greatly a part of what I was raised Catholic, so, we were taught to do that all the time anyway. Not saying that others are not, but that's just the world that I come from. And then we do robocalls. So we do a robocall on every show. We'll have either like last month, we had Melanie Lawson from Channel 13, and she's our co-chair for the subscription party for subscribers. And then Danette Davis, we had the 2 board members do a robocall. And so we got all these calls talking about, oh, Melanie Lawson called me. What does she want? She wants you to get a subscription. So, that just having people that others can identify with, or a lot of times we'll ask some of the well-known actors to come out and say something, send a robocall or make a phone call or make a personal call, or even sometimes just ask them to sit and call 20 people and say, hey, we're interested in having you subscribe. I do that a lot. I love talking to the people. So I always make a point to make sure that I get to do that. And then we have like this artistic director dinner. So people that have supported the theater, or they want to continue to support or bring other people, we do this dinner once a year where they can come and then they can ask any questions that they want of me. And I always have some actors there that they can talk to. So they like having that kind of personal touch. And when our kids are in the program, we have them do a little video for those kids that get scholarships. And we have them do a video and send it to the people that they have, video or a handwritten note saying to them, thank you for supporting me and giving me a scholarship to be able to be a part of the YP program. But the one thing I guess I would say is that for anybody that's out here, trying to make this, all of this happen in their worlds, is don't take no for an answer, and just don't worry. All they can do is say no. And so, you can move on to the next thing, but there's something that you can find, I'm sure. And I would challenge you to do that will engage them in some way. Just, but you don't be afraid to take no for an answer.
And you're absolutely right. In this space, the nonprofit means you just never accept no. And that's what I'm going to take it as. And one of the points that you really made that I would love to overarchingly emphasize is incorporating your organization, donors and supporters and volunteer influencers. People love to be a part of something greater than themselves, and they want to be a part of organizations that are well received and that are considered prestigious, and incorporating some of the organization influencers and highlighting them, and also having them to convey messages of invitation to join in and supporting your cause is very important and very effective. Handwritten notes, I cannot simply say enough, are probably by far my favorite, because it's that personal touch. And Jeff mentioned a software program that can help with creating that personal touch. Everyone loves a personal touch, and it's those personal touches that are truly the heart of fundraising. And as we're thinking about building a culture of philanthropy, we've covered a gamut of different things. We've talked about prospecting. We have talked about stewardship, donor retention. We've talked about multi-channel communication. But what we haven't dived into, and I want to just get a couple of comments on, and that is we're in the digital state and how important it is to make sure that we have some form of digital campaign mechanism in place to embrace within our said organizations. Jeff, I think that you've done that on more than one occasion. So if you could speak a little bit on digital fundraising, and we'll get ready to ramp up the conversation.
Yeah, years ago, you would put together like a direct mail campaign. But nowadays, it's like you have to take that and say, I'm going to do a direct mail campaign and couple it with my social media campaign, and also couple it with an email campaign, and then a text campaign. And you need to put all of those things together so that your strategy is not to just have one mechanism that goes out, but you're reaching people where they are. Some people are going to read email. Some people like to get a letter in the mail. Some people are only going to look at their phone, but you need to be able to strategize in a way that you're touching people on all of those platforms, digital and non-digital, because if you're like us where you're with the university, a lot of your big donors still want paper because they're that older generation. So you don't want to leave them out, but at the same time, you don't also want to ostracize the folks that could care less if you could send them a letter in the mail. So your marketing or your fundraising strategy has to hit all of those levels, whether they be digital, online, paper, hard copy, or what have you. You need to be hitting all of those instead of just thinking, on one channel.
And multi-channel sharing is definitely one of the mechanisms to definitely help us with mobilizing our causes and making sure we keep our donors and prospective donors engaged. And with that in mind, I'd like to go to our Q&A to offer opportunity for anyone that may have asked a question. And we do have a question in the chat. And the question under our questions category is, what fundraising approaches have you adapted to reach more diverse audiences and donors? What fundraising approaches have you adapted to reach more diverse donors and audiences? And I think any of you can answer that, because each of you probably done that on more than one occasion on a regular basis.
And one thing, when I was with Be the Match, doing major gifts, the one thing I did is made the phone call, because there were, I was the only African-American major gifts officer for a little bit, only male, especially, that covered 6 states. And a lot of people of color weren't called because for whatever reason they didn't believe that they had the funds for it. Even though, there was one lady who gave periodically. She might give $250, had given for years at a time, but $250 one year, $1,000 another year. It was different amounts. I went up, I flew out. Well, she was up. I worked around my anchor, and having lunch with her. Second visit that I had with her, she said, we haven't been to this church in like 2 years. And I think she said it's around $300 or $400 that comes out every month. So a church that we just don't even go to anymore. She said, so why don't I just give that to y'all? And I said, oh, well, thank you. I said, how about just round it up to $500 a month, $500 a month? She was like, okay. So just that, African-American female, just rounded up $500 a month right there. Another conversation, she ended up, deciding that was right as COVID hit. We had this couch fundraiser, raising money from the couch, because everybody's sitting on the couch because you're stuck in the house. And so she decided, after we had a conversation, that she wanted to focus on getting more Black people on the donor registry to be donors for bone marrow and stem cells. So she wanted to have a conversation about that. And during that period of time, she would match up to $25,000 during that campaign. And that would not have happened had just a phone call. But sometimes, it's just that easy sometimes to engage a diverse group of people. Is sometimes just making the phone call, realizing that they are African-American, they are Hispanic, they are Asian, but also being intentional when you're going out into the public, the types of organizations that you go to and that you're networking with, that you're going to the Black chambers, the Asian chambers, the Hispanic chambers, and talking with them, talking with your friends who are of those ethnicities and saying, hey, I'm looking for more people who look like you. Where can I find them? If your current donors who are of that ethnicity, you're saying, we need more people that look like you. You can say something like that once you've developed that relationship. If you want to get just blunt with them. But that's for me, that's how it's worked.
We have another question from one of our audience participants, and this is from, I think, Rebecca. What fundraising approaches, how do you approach engagement and retention for non-local donors and supporters? For non-local, and I think Jeff can speak to that because you've got alumni everywhere, and Eileen, obviously.
Well, now I will say this with Harris Stowe, most of our alumni are right here. They're right here in St. Louis. But you're right though. How do you reach out to those non-local people? So the people who are non-local from a university standpoint, I think this is a very common practice. Is, of course, you're going to send the emails and text messages. Of course, you're going to do those types of things. But one of the things that we should be doing is, as we visit different cities, whether it be for a conference or what have you, we should be looking at what alumni are in those areas, because we can couple those visits with, hey, well, if I'm going to be in Atlanta, do I have any alumni that's in Atlanta? I should be making a couple of visits while I'm there. Hey, if I'm going to be out in Dallas, let me check my database and see if there's any alums in Dallas, because those things make a big difference. if you reach out to an alum and say, hey, I'm just in your area and I thought I'd love to take you out for coffee or something. I'd like to talk to you since I'm going to be here. Those types of things definitely make a difference. It's a personal touch that people are not always expecting. But if you do those types of things, they definitely they make a huge difference. And just to kind of speak to that point is that the more versatile you are in how you reach your I'm gonna go back to the diversity thing for a second. Is how you're doing that is that I think there's a lost art that we're starting to get to, because when you look at these diverse audiences, yes, it's great to try to figure out how you're going to do these things digitally and multi-channel, and a lot of times that works for your annual giving, but I haven't found a strategy yet that beats picking up the phone and having a personal conversation or meeting with somebody one-on-one, particularly when you're trying to get those major gifts. And I think some of the stuff that we're doing nowadays, people are starting to get away from wanting to talk on the phone or meet people. But like I said, when it comes to those major gifts, I haven't found a strategy yet that beats a personal conversation. So let's keep those types of the fundamentals, in our skill set, because it's beginning to be a lost art. So when you pick up the phone and call somebody and just say, hey, I want to talk to you, it's almost like you're catching people off guard, like, wow, he actually called me. So let's keep those strategies in our skill set as well.
And it's
And I would
that
say that
it's okay
each
to
of you
use more than 146 characters.
And I would also say that each of your organizations do have diverse audiences for those that may be joining in a little bit late, and diverse from the standpoint of age, demographic, ethnicity, religious backgrounds. So all of our organizations are very diverse in their support mechanisms, whether or not there may be some specific strategies garnered or geared towards specific diverse groups would probably be the more appropriate question. But in fundraising, you meet people where they are, and then you create the opportunity through awareness sessions. Ms. Morris, please chime in the conversation.
No, I was just gonna, first of all, thank you, Jeff, for saying that, because that, it's human touch and human connection is always ultimately most important. And I was just gonna add, from the ensemble theater's perspective, that because each one of our plays has its own uniqueness in what that play and that story is about, then we reach out to varied audiences depending on what that is. But even with that, we still want people, I think I put that in the chat, to understand that they're buying into the institution, not just one particular play. But when we deal with the different plays, we reach out and try to be as open to make sure that we are reaching that specific audience for that particular story, so that they understand that there's something for everyone. When we travel a lot in North Carolina at the National Black Theater Festival, and we do plays there every couple of years, because their festival is every 2 years. And it's interesting, the people that come to support and see the plays that we're doing. And when we're there with them, now they're from North Carolina or other areas, we always tell them, hey, now it's your responsibility to go tell somebody that that lives in Houston, because somebody, whether it's a family member or you've dropped into Houston, you've got some friends, whatever that is, you need to go tell them to come and support this Black institution that is there. That's how you can help continue to support us. So that's one of the ways that and that's really everywhere we go. It's the first thing I do when I go to a city is make sure that I go and support whatever is Black owned, whether it be theater, whether it be, a restaurant, whether it be music, whether it be a bookstore, whatever that is. And then I'm telling them about the fact that we're a Black owned institution as well. And here's how you can help us. And let's, collaborate sometimes, because sometimes I put some information in our playbill about something that's been in Atlanta or Chicago that really is not necessarily connected, but it is connected because people go and visit other places.
You are absolutely right. And that playbill, I have a whole collection. That playbill goes wherever most people are who truly appreciate theater. As we're beginning to wrap up, I'd like to ask each of you to just take a few moments to think about, what does Black Philanthropy Month mean to you? What does it mean to you? Just kind of summing it up. What does it mean to you, and how we can continue to operate in the space of where it's not just a month, but it's an opportunity to share knowledge, information, and support causes throughout the year. Black Philanthropy Month. And for me, I'll start. The Black Philanthropy Month to me is just absolutely a celebration of all the things we do with time, talent, and treasure in traditional spaces. Many instances, our philanthropic work may not necessarily be quantified. Philanthropy in the African American community goes back to slavery. And Harriet Tubman did it best, when she would engage with those that were helping us, abolitionists. And I'm getting excited and emotional all at the same time. And, they made these gifts, their sacrifices of both time, talent, treasure, all of the things that are important to us and to allow us to thrive, strive, and continue to have impact. Our reach is extensive, but it's a matter of making sure that we acknowledge the strength of our unity together and the influence and the power of our influence beyond ourselves. So for me, I say Black Philanthropy Month is every day, because every opportunity we have to engage and elevate and promote your cause, you are creating an opportunity to better humanity in your particular area and industry.
It's about legacy. It's about, generations that are, we were raised where you tithe in the church and you put money in the church and you saved those dollars to make sure that you could give up and be of support. So, and that comes from generational giving and generational information that's being passed on. So I think that Black Philanthropy Month is just making sure that our generations of young people that are here understand the importance of doing that. And if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? We have to take ownership in that we have to support those things each individually ourselves, and that generations to make a commitment so that we can be sustained and hold true, so that the ensemble theater can be around another 47 years, and change happens can be around another 30, 40 years, and the same thing with the university. So that to me, that's an important to think about legacy, to think about generations that create those legacies.
Well, I can jump in and say, the thing about Black Philanthropy Month for me is just, it's the awareness of everything, not just the actual monetary giving, but it's more so, showing up. We need to show up, and and whether that's in like you say, in our time, our talents, our treasures, but we're showing support for each other, whether that be supporting our Black businesses, supporting our HBCUs, supporting our restaurants, supporting these things, and showing up in a way that's meaningful and creating transformation. And a lot of times that could be done through volunteer work. A lot of times it could be done through showing interest, but doing things that are going to be transformational for us and bringing more awareness to that during Black Philanthropy Month, so that we understand that these are things that are needed, but it doesn't always mean you have to go in your wallet to do it.
I think again, all the above, everything that's been said, it's just remembering to reach back and help the person behind you, next to you, hold the shoulder and the back of the person that's in front of you, just in case they start to fall back. Know that you're there for them. It's just being there as part of that, part of Black Philanthropy Month. And I got to put a plug in. I put in the chat, Men of Color and Development. For Men of Color, we started a group. This is our third year we're into now, I think it is. Over 260 men on the listserv, but it's an opportunity for us to come together, men of color, to share, to learn, and to grow with each other. So on LinkedIn, Men of Color and Development, go make sure you got a picture so I can add you in once you do that.
And with that in mind, we're going to close out with some information for each and every one of you that have tuned in today. As I mentioned earlier on the onset, it's really important that each of us in the philanthropic space have the opportunity to have resources. In many instances, you may be in a smaller shop and you may not necessarily have the resources to purchase some of the products that we mentioned. Well, I'm happy to share with you, National University Fundraising Academy offers a variety of free webinars that speak to all of the areas that we discussed, ranging from prospect research to all the way to stewardship. And specifically for those of you that are working in the major gift space and or annual fund space, there are some mechanisms in place that speak specifically to how to close the gift, how to make the ask for major gifts. And for those of you that have a heightened level of engagement with boards, we also have information about how to effectively engage your boards. Digital fundraising, there are a variety of different resources made available to you free. All you have to do is click on the QR code, which will take you directly to the link, and that will open up a plethora of opportunities via registering to have access to the portal. In addition to that, one of the things that we also would like to share with you is that it's really important that you maintain heightened level of engagement, not only from the space of your organization, but from the professional realm. And so our courses are CFRE eligible. And with our portal, it allows you to track your information in real time. So as you watch the free webinars, you are able to maintain a tracking system so that should you be interested in pursuing your certified executive fundraising credential, that information is available to you as well. We are very excited to celebrate Black Philanthropy Month. This has been such a meaningful, heartfelt conversation. I want to thank our distinguished panelists once again for being a part of the transformation of Black philanthropy in their various agencies, the Mr. Marcus Brewer, the Miss Eileen Morris, and the Jeff Shaw. Each and every one of you are making significant impact across our communities. Your work is appreciated. Your passion is heartfelt. Most importantly, we honor you and the work that you do each and every day. And we're looking forward to joining you in being exceptional as we continue to elevate each and every one of our philanthropic causes. Thank you everyone for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again soon for Fundraising Academy webinars.